This is Chris from Don't Let Them Burn. Welcome to the program. And before we start, how about this intro?
If I start telling people about hell, I'm gonna
Program.
just scare them off.
Play. Anyway, this is Hollywood Matrix episode 4. Welcome all. Welcome all. So today we're going to be talking about Lovecraft Country, a TV series on the popular HBO channel there. And as we get into our slideshow here, first I want to introduce my guest, Red. Yes, hey, Red, what's going on?
Nothing much. We're back at it again. Some good stuff. I even got my serious glasses on.
All right. So as we move, we're going to get into this program, get into a little slideshow for you guys. And here we are. So this is Lovecraft Country. And when the show starts off, pretty much we have Atticus here. This is a dream state. He's a veteran of the war, World War II. And it goes into this scene here. What you have here is a flying squid, which we'll get to that in a moment. His name is Cthulhu. And we have UFOs, and we have alien invasion over here, right? And, war-torn or whatever. So then here, when Atticus is walking up, as he sees all these UFOs or whatnot, and crazy monsters that are related to the Lovecraft series, they have some racial radio programs playing in the background. And one of the quotes is, they say, "Where you going, black boy?" So it's all this race stuff coming up in a time of racial sensitivity and what would you say?
I say
Racial
division. Yes, I think this is very, very divided.
It's on the nose.
Yes,
and we're going to get into a lot of those things. Now, here's the thing. For those that's just joined us, if you haven't seen one of our reviews before, this isn't get the straw out the way. This is a Christian movie review or TV show review, whatever you want to call it. So if you don't like spoilers and stuff, this ain't for you. And if you are easily offended, again, this is not for you. Okay? So again, we give spoilers. The last time we did Raised by Wolves, we did the whole season. We left out a lot of details because it's the whole season, like 10 episodes or something like that. Same thing with this. But with this series, there was so much information packed into the first episode. That's all we can cover today.
Yeah.
And as we go, we're going to decide if we're going to do all or just get out all the important pieces to reveal to you what's going on in the show. So one thing I want to show you that I totally forgot to bring up, sorry guys, is the book that this TV show is pretty much, sorry, let me share my screen here. I always forget to share my screen, sorry guys. So anyway, this is not the book. This is something we're going to bring up later. So this is a TV series, but the book, Lovecraft Country, is it's written by this author. I can't remember his name. We'll bring it up in a second once my internet runs fast enough. In fact, let me just go to Amazon so we find it on there. So anyway, here it is right here. Sorry for the delay, guys. His name is Matt Ruff. And basically, as you see there on the cover, there you have the KKK hoodies down right under representation of Cthulhu, the creature that we're trying to show, but we didn't show, so we'll start that over. And it's about, American demons exposed and all this stuff. This novel is not necessarily totally Lovecraftian. They took pieces of the Lovecraftian mythos and weaved it into this story filled with racial tension.
Lots.
All right. So just wanted to show you that as we begin the slideshow again. Here we go. Start from beginning. All right, there we go. So again, this is Lovecraft Country, and this is the beginning where he's in war, but this is a dream that he's having, and his name is Atticus. This is that scene turns into full color to show he's switching from one thing to another, and here we have a representation of Cthulhu. We get to that in a second. The UFOs, the aliens to the left there that are attacking whoever. Nothing important there going on there except for imagery, Lovecraftian imagery. So here he's amazed by the onslaught of UFOs and whatnot. And in the background, they have racial terminologies playing on the radio, like "Where you going, boy, black boy?" and all sorts of stuff like that, right? And so anyway, as that moves out, because they're building the world. This world building. So they have to let you know that this racial strife going on in the 50s. I think it's 1957.
Yeah, it's 1955 to 57.
55 to 57. Okay.
Yes.
And so here we have a trifecta, Martian spacecrafts, and a Martian lady is coming out there. And this is the actress, I don't know her name, but she is going to play an important part of another character when we get further in the series. So anyway, we have the alien coming down, and she whispers something in his ear, that's something like a warning or something. And anyway, Cthulhu comes up behind them and is about to eat them or whatever, and Jackie Robinson comes and bats him away, splits him in half, and then he grows back, and then that scene pretty much ends. So this is another representation of this monster. But what we want to do is kind of get you into the mythos of who Cthulhu is. And H.P. Lovecraft, by the way, I'm going to get to that later. Let's just go to this. So they're the great old ones. And in the tech world, there are some people that are saying that these old gods are going to come back and inhabit AI, right? And then they're going to rule us through AI, and they're not going to care about us because they're going to be so advanced, okay? So as we see here, it says the great old ones are to be distinguished from the more cosmically placed entities such as Azathoth, Nyarlathotep, and Yog-Sothoth,
Okay,
and from races such as the Tertullians, the Deep Ones, Elder Things, and Maijo. Yet this distinction is unclear at times, in part because the terminology is not always consistent. For instance, Nyarlathotep, despite his marked interest in Earth and its culture, is generally considered to be one of the outer gods instead of a great old one. On the other hand, Hastur has several avatars and is generally based in outer space, but he is still considered a great old one. There are conflicting accounts on what the proper classification of Nigurath, would be. Very few people dispute the Azathoth and Yug. Anyway, the rest of that is not important. The point is, this creature is he doesn't play a huge part in the series, but it's important that we bring it out because this goes into comic book lore and other series, like what do you call it? Bird Box. In Bird Box, all of the demonic entities are pretty much old gods, and Cthulhu is one of them. The way I know this is because the way that they describe the creatures in Bird Box represents the old gods, their description of the old gods. Okay, so that's why I'm telling you that.
Okay. Because I didn't know that. I watched them when you said that. I was like, "What? They were invisible. We didn't see them." But
Right.
You
Yeah.
schooled me.
Yeah. So, so as we move, we're gonna go back to the slideshow now. Okay. And if you got any questions, always put the comments in, people, so that we can see what you're saying. And thanks for the comments so far.
Yep.
This guy said, what's his name? Amy Canizaro says
Canzario.
that Canizaro.
Yeah.
Canizaro.
Yeah.
So they said they watched it too. It's a weird
Yeah.
series.
Very
One
weird.
person I actually talked to that called me about it said they couldn't really take it. It was too much.
Yeah.
And here, this person is right. This is my story. They say trying to divide and control and make war between the people. That is correct. Because we're going to get into all that in a second.
It's heavy. I know. I totally agree with you on that. We got words on
Yes.
that. A lot of words on that. I got a lot of. Okay, I got a soapbox to get on.
Yeah. So we're going to start slideshow. The computer's moving a little slower, guys. So it's starting back in a second here. So anyway, I don't like when it goes backwards like that. So anyway,
this is what happens when we do live. We're organic.
Yeah, organic, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So when we get to this scene, he's on the bus and he has a book in his hand, The Princess of Mars. They put these cues to get into your subconscious, right? And so Princess of Mars relates to this movie, which is called John Carter. In other iterations, it's John Carter of Mars, right? And the reason why they're even putting this there, it has nothing to do with the rest of the show, okay? And I'll show you, I'm just going to give you a quick look at the book here. Sorry, not there, here. John Carter, it's the Barsoom series, and he's got Princess of Mars, Gods of Mars, Warlords of Mars, and all these other things. And it's written by this guy, Edgar Rice Burroughs. His books were pretty famous, and a lot of the modern stories that you see are taken from his books, including Star Wars. Okay, so I'm gonna actually stop using the slideshow because it keeps going back and forth. I'm gonna do this. Okay, so that's John Carter. All right. So now, as we move into this first episode, he gives the finger middle to Kentucky because in Kentucky there was segregation, right? So we're going to get into that in a second. So, okay. So the bus breaks down.
Yes.
The bus breaks down and they're having a conversation as they're walking to the destination. And he's talking about the Princess of Mars and what happened in there, because she's wondering what he's reading. And so he's saying that the protagonist is basically, he starts with him running from the Apaches and hiding in a magical cave, right? And so we're not going to get into the magical cave and all that. And it says, which transports him to the red planet. I explained in one show that in John Carter of Mars is a allusion to transhumanism, but that's not important for this right now. The transhumanism topic is important for the whole series, but we'll get into that later. Now, and he says that's when it starts to get good, because that's when it gets more sci-fi and whatnot. So anyway, she says, "Hold on. You said he's the hero is a Confederate officer." So the illusion there is because he's a Confederate, he cannot be a hero. Because why? So he says ex-Confederate, making it clear that he's not a part of the system anymore. And she says he fought for slavery. So here goes the whole race baiting, slavery, on again. And you don't get to put an X in front of that, right? And people can't get redeemed. Let's just say all the Confederates, we know that the stories that some of the stories told are not really how it really went. So anyway, we're not going to get into the whole history, but you're telling me that a person that is an ex-Confederate can't be redeemed from his past. That's what she's saying here, right? So he says, stories are like people. Loving them doesn't make them perfect. Just try and cherish them, right? Overlook their flaws. And then she says, yeah, but the flaws are still there.
Mm.
So what about her flaws?
Right.
What about his flaws? Everybody has flaws, but they want to make it clear that if you fought for slavery, even if you came out of that and you're an ex-Confederate, there is no forgiveness. That's what the story is saying.
That's kind of what they're saying to this day now.
Yeah, talking
Oh, so that's what they're saying to this day now. You know, if you're white, you are automatically a racist.
Yeah.
So that's the whole.
That's what they're saying.
That's the whole.
Yeah.
You know, you're white. You don't know. I'm not racist. Yes, you are. You just don't know it.
Yeah.
Because you're white.
And if your ancestors fought in a war or were a part of anything that has to do with that, you're not separated from that because that's your lineage. So, which doesn't make any sense.
Makes me.
It's like any ancestor of the Bundy family.
Yeah.
They're not serial killers.
Good point.
You know?
There you go. There you go.
So as we move, here we have. Okay, so you already know it's Lovecraft Country. The reason why we're bringing this up is because I want you to go to the top of the picture. It's from Misha Green, Jordan Peele, and J.J. Abrams. J.J. Abrams is the guy that made, he made a lot of shows, Fringe. He owns a production company. So you're going to see his name tacked onto a lot of productions. Mm-hmm. But the main ones I'm going to mention is Star Trek 2009, Star Wars, the Last Jedi, and no, not Last Jedi, the Skywalker. Anyway, the last Star Wars movie and the one before the Last Jedi, that's called The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens. So he's involved in a lot, but he works for Disney sometimes, and he has his own production company, and he also has SJW tendencies. Okay, and what you'll see is they're going to introduce a lot of these Black characters in like Star Trek and other movies and TV shows, but it's not to pretty much uplift the goodness that can come out of that community. It's always about race baiting. Always about race baiting. And what happens is if you go back to the 80s and early 90s, you had shows like the Cosby Show. I know Cosby did his thing, but you had the Cosby Show. We had 227 and a slew of other shows.
We had One on One. We had the Jeffersons, Family Matters.
Family Matters.
Love that show. Urkel.
We're not saying the shows were perfect, but it was showing another side of the Black community that people weren't necessarily seeing. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't all about this hinging on slavery forever. I mean, come on, we're like hundreds of years separated. Yes, bad things have happened in the 50s, in the 40s, in the 60s, in the 70s, and in the 80s that weren't necessarily great. But how are we going to move forward if we keep staying in this one spot? Yeah. You know? And so these movies that are coming out, listen, there's a guy that I know that's very reputable. And he said that when he was in the New Age, what they did, they would have these conventions, and they said that they put out these movies every so often to keep us divided. Yeah. And when I heard that, I said, wow.
Makes sense. You notice every year there's a slavery movie.
Yeah, more than one now.
Yeah.
It used to be one.
Yes, now it's
ramping up.
Like I was telling Chris, everything that has a Black cast, it's always representing us as in slavery. We're poor, we're broke, we're busted, disgusted. The white man's keeping us down.
It's always the hood.
It's always the hood. Again, I was explaining to him again, a classic movie of mine when I was a little girl called Witches. Now they get a new version of it. And now they change a little boy and a grandma. Now they're a Black cast. And they go back to them showing them in their little, back in the South and no shoes and the poorness, the poverty.
It's like, did every Black American live in the South?
Exactly. Thank you. Did every Black American, listen, I'm a biracial female. I've been always more closer to my Black side. Always have been. Don't ask questions, just how it is. But as I've gotten older and as I've gotten saved, I see it for what it is. And the hatred, it's the reversals, that the roles have changed. Now it's the Black people that are.
Yeah.
I'm not oppressed. I'm not a slave. The white man don't have nothing on me or my children. You know, I got 2 Black sons and a Black daughter. I got a son that's about to be a police officer. He serves in the military. Nothing has stopped them from getting to where he wants to go.
Mhm.
He's hungry, he has drive, or nor did I have that slave mentality, nor did his grandparents or his father.
Mhm.
We were talking about, me and his father were talking about that. He was like, I wasn't raised like that, Tish. It was Papa Hank from Beaumont, Texas. He didn't raise us like that. We
Mhm.
never heard any
Mhm.
type of negative talk. It was, boy, get out there and do your thing. Iron your clothes when you wake up in the morning, make your bed, take out the trash, and
Yeah.
work for yours. It was
Yeah.
morals, it's values.
Yeah.
But now,
Responsibility,
exactly.
accountability.
But now that's Ross's.
Yeah.
That's
So,
Ross's.
Amy says that this been going on as long as TV. I was around for the black and white TVs. Yes, you're correct. Now watch this. That's the stereotypes were going on. Yes, they were going on, and there were a lot of racist people in Hollywood. They just were.
Yeah.
But now what they're doing is they're taking what was true and adding on to it for revisionism.
Yes, and distorting it.
Yeah, because we're not denying
We're not
that
denying
this stuff
it at all.
went on,
No, it
right?
happened.
And we can't. Anyways, just true history.
Yeah.
But once we started to make progress in the early 90s, or is it late 90s? Early 90s is when you started having the most black millionaires ever. Even some of them became billionaires, but they never show that stuff.
No,
they
never.
want to make us all seem like we're in poverty. We're not entrepreneurs. And if we have quote unquote black owned businesses, that we're not thriving. Our communities aren't thriving, but then we have the injection, and I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent on this. We need to get back to the show. With the influx of the thug mentality and all this stuff in the music, and even in the movies, we have an upswell of pretty much making the thug type, the criminal, our heroes,
Yes.
instead of the inventors and the
Yes,
lawyers
we
and the
see that.
doctors. It's switched.
You see that right now.
So they're
Yes.
playing with us now.
Yep.
When I say they, I really mean from the LGBT LMNOP
Mhm.
to the United Nations to the white
The liberals.
No, I don't want to blanket the liberals, but the leftists, the white leftists. Not all liberals are the same.
Right.
So the white leftists are the ones that are doing this, and then we have black people, which we will get to in a second, that are also using this as a platform for reverse racism.
Yep. And I call them gatekeepers.
Yeah, they're gatekeepers.
They're actually gatekeepers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
That crab barrel mentality.
Yes.
Coming up, I'm taking you down, and as we see what's going on.
And what they want to foment is this movement of white privilege, or the other political terms that you've heard, so that one race could be lifted above another, but they're being used as pawns to talk. I'm going to get back to the film.
Okay, we're going to be on a whole other change.
Yes, we're going to just. So anyway, so that's Jordan Peele is the guy that made this movie, Antebellum. Go ahead and tell them about Antebellum.
This is another one. So we got a woman who's a famous author, but she gets snatched back into slavery to help her remind her where we came from. So I got like 10 minutes into it. I had to shut it off because, again, what we're talking about, I'm just tired. I'm tired of it. My daughter watched it. She was like, it was good, but she don't get it yet. But yeah, so it's another movie that, so you got to go back to the slavery days, and she had to be snatched up. So I guess you can have, because she loses her way and she's famous now, but you can't do that. You got to go back to slavery so you can remember where you came from, the struggles of the people before us.
Yeah. So that's Antebellum, and I didn't bother watching it.
Yeah.
So you guys are familiar with this, Get Out and Us. So Get Out was more about white people want to suck the DNA out of black people through experiments so they can live better, because supposedly black people are stronger, better organs and whatnot. So the white people in the movie was into transhumanism. So this guy that you see screaming here, they were using him as an experiment to bring them into immortality. Okay. In Us, it was about a black family that was cloned through some genetic experiment. They didn't get too much into the who was doing it. Not that I remember from the movie, but they had their racial points that they were trying to make. Okay. So that's that movie. And so that's it for Jordan Peele right now. another movie that's putting this same thing of race this, race that is Watchmen. And they went back, both of the Lovecraft and the Watchmen went back to Black Wall Street, and they act like these racist white people burnt it down. But give the story.
I don't know if you guys know Judge Joe Brown, but I was listening to him on the podcast, and he was bringing this up, and he's like, people are so indoctrinated. He goes, the Black Wall Street happened between it was a rivalry. It was a
black rivalry.
Yeah, black rivalry, and it was against another white person, and they got into it. It's an on and off beef. So that's what it wasn't like white people just came into an all black owned establishment and started tearing it down. Right. No, it was a problem that they were having with each other. It was two families and another family, and it escalated. Yeah. So that's how that got into. He didn't really elaborate on it, but I picked up and was like, oh snap.
Yeah. Well, because what we're going through is historical revisionism.
Yes, you're right.
Right? Yeah. And so they don't tell you the whole story. They tell you what they want you to hear.
Exactly.
Somebody pointed out earlier about the biggest racist was the eugenics movement. Right. The elite that is correct. The Margaret Sanger and all these people, they rallied through the elites and made their programs, and Hitler got their eugenics program from us.
Yes. Yes, that's what's
So that's just a little history there. Yeah. So anyway, as we move Watchmen now, I'm not going to go into the whole series, but
I got like 10 minutes into this. I just turned it off. I couldn't even deal with it.
Yeah,
I couldn't even deal with it. Too much. It was too much.
Yeah. So they have a scene here. They're all white. They would represent somewhat of a KKK, but look above. They're using this. This is supposed to represent an alt-right. Neo-Nazi type, using the Christian banner and whatnot. So you see praise Wyeth for the EO God in Zion or whatever it's supposed to be. I don't know. They mixed up the words and whatnot. But that goes into your subconscious because they flip the letters. Your brain is able to make it out without you even knowing. Okay? So that's just Watchmen. Watchmen was really bad with all this race stuff. It was really bad. I just didn't cover it because I was in Bible college at the time, doing my schoolwork. So anyway, as we move, we have a scene here. The only reason I'm bringing up this scene is because these movies are making wholesomeness go away in the minds of adults and children alike. And this scene is part of the first couple scenes after Atticus goes through his whole little dream state there. Anyway, this is the father and the mother. Okay, of Atticus.
This is Uncle George.
Uncle
George and Auntie Hippolyta.
Yeah. Uncle George later on, he doesn't last through the whole thing. I won't tell you how he dies, but he doesn't last through the whole thing. But Hippolyta does, and she plays a huge part, and it goes into some weird stuff. But the reason why we even want to cover this is because some of the weird teachings in this movie are actually real. It comes out of the occult.
Yes.
But he starts to, I'm trying to be a little wholesome here since I'm talking about wholesomeness. All I can say is look where his hand is, and it's going to be positioned somewhere where she'll feel great. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. I'm like, it's not even needed.
Yeah.
It's not needed at all.
Stuff ain't needed. Like, like make it seem like you really got to show the butt. Like,
yeah. And in Hollywood, people lobby for this stuff to be in there, and it's a way for them to keep your attention as the story drags on, without showing skin, a little flesh, a sex scene, and going into the homoerotic stuff. That's a way to not only program you, but keep you involved into the scene, into the story as it moves along. So anyway, as we move, there's this book by H.P. Lovecraft, and what I wasn't going to mention earlier, I can mention now. H.P. Lovecraft was a hardened racist.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was.
He was really a racist. So this one's called The Outsiders, and so Atticus picks this book up, and his uncle is like, "Oh, you're moving back to some old stuff there, you know." And he says, "Getting reacquainted with old friends." Now, the reason why we picked this scene is not because of what he said, but what's here. The Arkham House is going to play a big part in the series as we move along. Okay, so it's a cult that is into witchcraft. It's a secret society. Okay,
yeah.
So as we move here, it says on the creation of Vegas, right? So they have to keep bringing it up. It's
Yes.
all throughout the series, all throughout. And so anyway, as we move, this part is Atticus is looking for his father.
Yeah, his father,
right?
Montrose. Yes, his father.
Montrose, and he's inside of a bar where his father used to hang out. Okay, remember wholesomeness, whatever, and people are gonna say, Chris, come on, man, it's 2020. It's okay. We're all adults here, right? But we're Christians, and so we're not talking about the things that the world wants to see, okay? Or the things that the world are getting moved towards. So anyway, this scene, Atticus is about to come out, and this guy's having another man
you know, just talking.
Put his mouth on him. Let's put it that way, okay? And so I'm like, this wasn't even necessary.
Yeah. But then the crazy part was Atticus comes out and he wasn't even surprised by it.
Yes. Atticus, he was surprised, yes. But the reason why he's surprised is not what we're.
That's true.
He was only surprised because the guy was getting it done, but not surprised because it was homosexuality.
Yeah, you're right.
Back then, it would have been something serious.
Like, what? Yeah, you're right. No,
yeah,
you're right. You're right.
So anyway, these are the two sisters.
Yes, this is Letitia.
Letitia and
Letitia, known as Letty's for short, and her sister Ruby.
Okay, and Ruby plays a major part later on, as does Letitia. Okay. But these two sisters are opposites. She is a narcissist. She is the model for feminism in this movie as well.
Yes, she is.
Okay.
Yep.
Just like in Watchmen, this lady was the model for feminism. She takes on the role that a man would usually have, and she's not even in the original Watchmen. They just made her up for this show. Okay. And the original Watchmen was made by a witch, by the way. Just a little fun fact there for you guys. So, like I said, they are sisters, and what's her? She's not really making it that well in life.
Ruby,
but Ruby doesn't really. She's not really profitable. She's an entertainer. She wants to be. She wants to be in the affluent white community.
Yeah, she wants to work on the north side of Chicago because the north side at the time was mostly white and predominantly had upscale living. So she wants to become works in a retail store. So that's what her aims for. And she's taking all these extra classes at the community college, at the library, taking all these typing classes, trying to uplift her. Which is fine, trying to give herself a head up. Yeah. But
so we're not gonna, when we talk about some of this stuff, we're not saying this is bad, that is bad, unless it's really bad. So yeah, she's trying to get educated and all that stuff. But back then, it wasn't like all blacks had this major struggle. Even in Jim Crow, we were progressing. We had 500 black inventors.
Yeah. So yeah, you had Jim Crow era. They were more, you had the fathers in the homes. You had, they did more better as you had doctors and lawyers. You had people as a community. You had, they had Christian values. They had values. They all leaned on each other as a community.
They were conservative.
Very conservative, but they stuck together.
Right. And through drugs and influxation of other things, our community started to fall apart. So we started being crabs in a barrel. So just another thing of Black history that we want to point out there. So anyway, as we move on, again, this is Atticus and Letitia. They were childhood friends, right? Yeah. And there are parts in the series that they play them up as Christians, but we're going to hold off on that. I'm just telling you that.
We definitely got a part 2 coming to this.
This is the niece.
That's the niece. What was it? I forget her name. Actually,
I forget her name too. She's really forgettable, but she plays a part from here on to the end of the series. And some of her thing, her characteristic is symbolic. Basically, she is drawing comic books that she gives to her dad every time he goes on a trip. And that's going to play a major part later on. Okay. So there, the dad is looking at this, mom and dad again, and he's, happy that he got his usual gift. Now, as we move on, listen, remember when we did Raised by Wolves? Raised by Wolves, we did a whole season. We skipped some things, a lot of things, but we had about 100 slides. This is just the first episode. And we had almost 100 slides. There's so much stuff packed in here. So as we move, they go on a trip. They found a book and a map, right?
Yes.
That's going to lead them into some family secrets
Yes.
that most of them don't know about, except for the dad.
Except for the dad.
Right? And he hasn't been introduced yet, so you're not going to see his face. And on this trip, they're going to start giving the reality of how racially divided these parts of the South are. And we're not denying that these parts of the South were racially divided, okay? But again, bringing this out in a time of sensitivity, racial sensitivity has been going on since about before, in Barack Obama's era, actually. Black Lives Matter rose up and all this other stuff. And so now that it's worse because of George Floyd and these other people, some of them were guilty of crimes or whatnot, but we hold them up as heroes.
Yeah.
This comes in. And this really happened.
Yeah, this did happen. Yep.
It said, niggas, don't let the sun set on you here. Understand? So this is true. So they're gonna mix in truth with a little bit of inflation, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so here they stop to get gas, and they're, you know, these are, you got the white couple over here. There's another person beside me. See them in a minute at this and they're getting the gas over here, and he's eating a banana, right? And, you know, they're just having a mild conversation. And what's off in the cut? This guy acting like they're monkeys. And the white ladies are, you know, obviously laughing along with him. And so I didn't take all this. There's too many screenshots to take. So basically what happened there is this white guy started walking towards the door, and Atticus was about to engage with him. And Letitia said, no, you know, she kind of pulled him back, and then he threw the banana at him. That's all that happened there. So here they're going on their trip, and they're getting into the book and whatnot. So this trip is going to last until the morning. Okay. Here they get into the town that they're going to, and obviously more racist white people, right? Mm-hmm. And the dog is racist too.
I know, right? You cut that. I know. I was like, dang, dog racist.
So they go into this restaurant. And actually, you know what? Let me pull this slide up. Sorry, guys. It's out of order. All right. And he says before they get in, they were talking about the restaurant and, you know, kind of it's on edge here. And he says you can't, you know, judge a book by its cover, and they can't refuse a service. And she says, or spit in our glass water. And she gives the white person an evil look, or a look of contention. And maybe the white person's doing the same to her. They didn't make it super clear. Okay. But that's what's going on there. Then in here, they're studying the book and what's going on with where they're going and what it's about, because they're about to go see her brother. Okay. So this is what happens when they actually enter. This is what happens. I'm sorry. This was supposed to be before that one. Okay, so this is what happens when they enter. This guy right here, I'll tell you about him in a second. They both look like, oh man, what's going on here? These are not our regular customers, right? So then they sit down, and after, oh, sorry, this is even before. Anyway, we're just driving by, we stopped in. And so this guy walks out, the same guy, this guy, he walks out, but he's walking out to go call his buddies. Okay. But they don't know that. So they're wondering about the service. So he went into a diatribe about, we're here, we're customers, we deserve to be served, our money is the same, you're a veteran, let's just eat. So Letitia walks into the back to use the bathroom, right? And she sneaks to the door, and the guy says, I swear I didn't serve them. And not after what you did to Lydia. So something happened to another black person, or it could have been a white person. I don't know. Right. But I'm going to assume it's a black person. And so those guys are on the way. So the walls in the restaurant are white. The tiles on the floor are a little displaced and look like the place was burned down before. So this is an allusion to the White House. And so he goes into what happened. Why did the White House burn down, or what happened to the White House? And he says this was the War of 1812. Then he goes into the British soldiers put the executive branch a torch. And later, when the slaves rebuilt it, they had to paint the walls white, right? And to cover up both the burn marks. And so Letitia is about to come out. She's like, get your behinds up. Let's get out of here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So before I go on to the next scene, let's go to the truth about what happened to the White House. How did the White House get its name? A popular myth exists. Remember, we're dealing with historical revisionism. Okay. So it says here, a popular myth exists that the White House was first painted white to cover the scorch marks left after British soldiers set fire to the White House, to the house during the War of 1812. Actually, the White House first gained a lime-based whitewash in 1798 to protect the exterior stone from moisture and cracking during winter freezes. The term White House was originally used before the War of 1812, with the phrase appearing in newspapers in the first decade of the 19th century. In 1901, President Theodore Roosevelt officially named the executive mansion the White House. Before that, the White House had been called several names, including the President's House and the Executive Mansion, since nearly every U.S. state had an executive mansion for its governor. President Roosevelt believed the name White House would establish it and the official residence of the president as official resident of the president of the United States. Now, this is obviously not the full story, but it doesn't match what was just said in this TV series.
No.
Right? So you go search that out for yourself and get the truth. Okay? So, but imagine now, remember, this is programming. Yep. This is programming and the counter programming and predictive programming. Somebody's going to react from this. Okay. So anyway, the guys come and this scene gets very cartoonish. You know, they're in the fire truck. They're in this pickup truck. They're running after them, shooting at them or whatnot. And basically they got away. Their truck, the fire truck crashed, and this truck flips over because you know what? I should have got that scene. I should have got that scene.
Yeah, because
there's somebody guiding them
in a Rolls Royce.
Yes, yes, I should have got that scene. Anyway,
yeah.
There's somebody guiding them in a Rolls Royce. They intercepted this truck, and it flipped over. Yeah. That person is I don't remember her name. Was a white girl.
Her name is I got her name. Yes. The white girl, Christina Buthway. Yeah. So her name is Christina.
Yeah.
She's a part of the.
She's a part of the whole secret
white
society that's gonna. There some ritual stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, in the next scene here. Here. That's Letitia's brother. So is this backwards or something? No, it's backwards. It's backwards. So he's explaining how the witch trials in Europe was about they hung a woman for fornicating with the devil. And that should alarm you, right?
Right.
If that's true, right? But then he has to go in and say who appeared to her as a Negro man, right? He's not surprised at the devil part.
It's the Negro man.
Only the Negro part. I think if the Satan or the devil or a devil came and slept with a woman, I would be alarmed.
Right.
I wouldn't care about the color.
I know.
I would not care. Okay. I don't care if he's red, green, or purple. But they have to drive it home that everything is racist. Okay? That's what the left does. Doesn't matter if they're black and it doesn't matter if they're white, because most of them are communists and they have to play on race. So anyway, as we move, the uncle is still in love with with Atticus's mother, right?
Yep.
And she's dead, but she plays a part later on. Okay, because this series also goes into ancestor worship. Okay.
Yes.
So they're still on their trip. They're not where they're supposed to be headed to yet, but they stop to take a little potty break, and a white officer pulls up to them, and I already knew it was coming. I didn't have to guess. Okay, and so he's a racist, and he pretty much reminds him of this is real now. This actually happened too. Any of you all know what a sundown town is? Basically, you have to get out of sundown before you get caught by any cops if you're another color or whatnot, right? So they have a little diatribe about this stuff, and he's not even being patient. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's setting them up, and they agree to try to get out of town, going north, I believe, within 7 minutes, right? And he says, okay, that sounds like a good idea. And boom, they start traveling, right? And the sun is setting, the tension is building, the music is building. And by the time they get out of town on time, there's a roadblock in the next county, right? And so these racist white cops, they take them into the bushes to pretty much murder them, because they're making it seem like they're suspect that robbed somebody in the next county. Okay. So they're saying, we knew that they would strike again. But
they'd be gypsies.
Thought they'd be gypsies, right? And so when I asked about a burglary in Bedford last night, all this stuff, are two others in Bucks. That's the county, Bucks Mills, right? Something like that.
Yes, Bucks Mills,
last week. And he's saying this is just misunderstanding. And stuff like this went on, okay? It did. And he said, did this Negro give me permission to search his car? That's something you should never do in the real world. Never give a cop permission to search your car.
I know that. You ain't searching my car.
Yeah,
Get a warrant.
It's illegal. Anyway, as we move, they start hearing rustling and shrieking in the bushes. And this is where the episode actually gets exciting.
Yeah, that's when it starts getting.
So they're hearing this, and the cops are like, "What's going on? Who is there?" Da 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 da. And this thing comes out.
Yeah.
Now let's go into what these things actually are before we even move further. So according to this, the Lovecraft Country brings H.P. Lovecraft's horrifying monsters, the Shoggoths, to life. Basically, they're not demons. They are mute. They're genetically modified creatures, but they're also like werewolves and vampires. If you get bitten by one, you will turn into one, and we'll show you that in a minute. So here we go, set in the 1950s. Let me see if we need to read that. No, we don't need to read that. Our heroes, blah, blah, blah. It's only touched upon briefly, but about 50 minutes into the first episode, when their car pull off the road aside, they're dragged into the thing, It's a Shoggoth. Atticus replies, thinking, because he's reading the Lovecraft novel, so that's why he knows. Atticus replies, thinking he's joking around to this point. Earlier in the episode, Atticus picks up a copy of H.P., the one we saw earlier. He then makes a direct callback to the horror writer's work. But we don't have to go further. You can look at this article yourself. These are the monsters from the film, and we got our own screenshots. These look like potatoes. So roar, right? And he's biting off a cop's head there. There's some scenes that we were going to show, but they're too gruesome.
Yeah.
So this is where they ran into a house, not a shed, a house deep in the forest. And this forest is controlled by certain people, right? So anyway, saying they're coming. This guy got his arm or chest or whatever chewed off a little bit. And that's him and the other guys, the only cops left. The uncle is left outside, but the monsters aren't killing him, and that's for a reason. So anyway, as we move, he's saying we need to fight them. We need weapons. Then he says, this is actually behind. He says there's monsters there. So he starts saying they're children of the night. What music they make. and that's a reference to Dracula, right? Now, in the real world, this wouldn't make any sense. They're monsters chasing you. They're biting people's heads off. They run fast, and we're going to get to that in a minute. And a quote from a Dracula novel isn't going to save you. It's just a clue to what's coming next in the theater, right? So he said none of them attacked him, and all I had was a flashlight, right? So that's another clue to how to defeat them. This is a story. It's sci-fi. I get it. Okay? Doesn't make any sense though. So this guy now is saying, but basically they're saying somebody has to go back to the car to get something.
To get the car, to bring the car.
To get the car. To bring the car to them because they can't run out into the forest. But he picks the woman, right? Naturally, yes, he's a racist. Yes, he's a bad guy. Yes, he would do something as brutal as that. But there's something else going on here.
Yeah.
She says, I'll go. I was an all-star track in high school, remember. Now, please don't get offended, females, okay, women, but most of you guys would shriek at this stuff. You would send the guy first because that's your protector, right? But the roles are reversed here because they're building her up for the second season to be the lead protagonist.
And you'll see later on when we get in here, see how the women are the dominants in the series. You see how that's going. Yeah. So did we just tell you, we're not making this up. This is what we saw this. I'm a woman. I'm not offended.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then she starts to say the Lord's Prayer, or no, I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and they're playing them up like they're Christians because they were sort of kind of raised in the church, right? But I could tell you now, from this point on to the end of the season, they are not born again Christians. Okay.
Magic, but
But we're gonna keep some of those secrets, right? So as we move, this is the cop that was bitten in the. He was bitten, so he turns into one of these creatures, right? Looks kind of anyway. And that's what he looks like, right? And so when she's out there, she gets attacked, but she's not. They don't actually show it if she gets killed or not, but I'm going to tell you, she didn't get killed because she's one of the stars. And so anyway, she drives the car into the house. She kills this guy who was about to kill the uncle and Atticus. And so after that, it's bright lights or whatever, but they're still not safe. And then they start lighting up flares, which in my eyes doesn't make them safe, but whatever, it's a story. And they lay them all over the ground there, and that is supposed to protect them. No more monsters are coming, and they survive the night. They don't give you a story in between night and day after this. This is what they come out to.
This is where it gets.
And this leads us back to, give me a second here as I scroll up. This leads us back to this Arkham House.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's part of the secret of what's going on there in season 1. And basically, this is the end of the show. And when they get into the next one, it gets very weird. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not, and by the way, I'm not recommending the show to anyone at all.
That's why we watch it. I watch it to help you guys out.
Yeah, so that's part of the end of our review here.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot to come. More to come.
There's a lot more to come.
Yeah.
Let's see if what everyone's saying. Previous owner, Barack Obama, all that stuff.
Yeah, who was the guy? I forgot, the one that got killed. When hands up, the kid that
hands
got
up,
killed.
Don't you? That's
Michael Brown.
I think so.
Was it Michael Brown, guys? Because I see this is my story. I think it was Michael Brown, and then Obama got up there saying with his self, he's never experienced no type of racism in his life. Yeah. So yeah, he's the one that started that. You're right on that one.
Yeah. So and you have to, with all these racial things that are happening with cops shooting this person, that person, knee on the neck. There's a lot more going on there
So
than you
much
think.
more, guys.
You
So
know,
much more. That's a good point right there.
I say in gray rolls.
Yes,
What's that?
in the gray rolls, it rolls in between the black and the white. Ha ha. Because black and white makes gray. And you said the gray rolls. I didn't pay attention. That was good. Yep, I didn't pay attention to that.
Yeah,
that was a good.
Yeah,
catch.
so many secrets and you know, symbolism and whatnot. So with all the stuff going on in our society, as we keep saying, there's no need for all of this, but there's never a need, is there?
Nope.
Unless we're telling the truth, right?
Yeah.
If you want to tell the truth about some things that happen with black people and white people, and they never really bring up the point that we were helped by a lot of white people. But there were also the leftists that came in just like now to help, but they were trying to tell us what to do.
Like they're doing now.
Instead of helping, really.
Mm-hmm.
So we had help from better side than the leftists, and it's been going on for decades and decades, and now it's at a fever pitch.
Yes.
And these TV shows and movies are not helping it at all.
No, Biden says what? You don't vote for me. You're not black. What if Miss Chelsea, Miss Handler? Oh, that.
Oh yeah.
She's like, I got to remind Fitty, you black.
Yeah.
Does anybody realize
that's a racist term?
You know how racist that is, Miss White Woman, because you've been with many brothers and you feel like you got this black grip on blackness. So you feel you can tell me or him or anybody else that we ain't black or
yeah.
Think about that. No, real talk. I don't know why she's not getting drugged right now. Because if anybody should be mad, they should be looking at her sideways. How are you going to make that comment? And then 50, he retracts. It's just a lot of stuff.
Yeah, 50 Cent retract after that.
Yeah, he sure did.
Even though I think he's going to vote for Trump regardless.
But he said F Trump, blah, blah, blah. But you just showed that Miss Chelsea Handler, her last name Handler, just handled you.
Yeah, partner. Pretty much. He got handled by his racist ex-girlfriend.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah. So here, look, see my shirt? All of these media companies are the ones controlling. Even if you're watching me as a Democrat, these are the people controlling the narrative.
I just got vegetation.
That's why they're in a trash can, because they're mainstream media, total control mechanism, and they're not just being controlled from entities in the United States. They're also being controlled by the United Nations, George Soros, and on and on and on. And it's not conspiracy theory. Look into it. It used to be 6 media companies. After they bought up other media companies, books, music, whatever, that controlled our narrative for decades. And now it's starting to bleed over into big tech, Twitter, Facebook, Google. And you have Comcast bought out Warner Brothers, I believe. And then Disney bought out Fox, at least a portion of Fox, the movies and all. They didn't buy out the news portion. And so now it's pretty much either the big 5 or the big 4. So most people don't understand this control mechanism. So they think that people like Jordan Peele and other people, Oprah, are just working on their own. They're given a leash, right? And if the leash they're given is to provide more flames to the fire, they're going to let them do it, right?
Straight up.
And if the leash they're given is to give a little truth, they'll do that too, right? So you have to understand the control mechanism. When we get back into some more of Lovecraft Country, you're gonna see some stuff that the witchcraft, the occultism, the brutality, even at the end, it's just off the charts. So anyway, this is the end of our review or breakdown.
This was just like a little teaser to what's to come, because a lot. And they said one person said he couldn't watch it because he got convicted. I got convicted too. It was up further. Wait. So where's he at?
Right here. I don't know. Up more. Up. He were getting close to the beginning.
It was Kobe, dude.
Oh, Kobe.
Yeah, he said he couldn't watch it because, which I understand. It did convict me in the spirit, and it was a lot. You know, my daughter was like, "Mom, shut up. Can I just watch?" No, you can't. I got to show you what's going on.
Yeah.
I got to let you know.
Well, see, the thing is, you know, some of us are desensitized. I used to be desensitized to this stuff.
Me too.
Very desensitized.
Me too.
And after getting into coming back to Christ,
Yeah.
getting into the Bible, learning Bible prophecy, learning how to really live a holy life, these things started to fall off. So when I go back and watch something like this, yeah, I'm convicted, but not convicted in the sense like, Chris, don't do it. You shouldn't be exposing it. It convicted in the sense of what they're showing me. I don't need to watch that. Let me fast forward this scene. I'll get to the rest and I'll move on, because someone has to expose this.
Yes.
So someone has to watch it.
Yep.
Right. So if you feel convicted and you won't watch it, trust me, I'm not even recommending this to you
don't.
at all.
No, don't.
At all. But for the people that have, and they're, because like I said earlier in the show, somebody called me and said, hey, that Lovecraft thing, it disturbed me. And this is not a person that's like super, yo, I'm about Jesus and all. They believe in Jesus and everything, but they're not fundamentalists.
Okay.
Fundamentalists, right?
Same thing.
So it disturbed them.
It disturbed them. And it when we get to the end, like the last episode is which really took me to a place where
there's some disturbing stuff, but it's all based on real occult activities. And we'll get into that in the next show. So thanks for joining us. And thanks for mentioning the Boule group.
That's right.
Definitely.
The Boule Society.
They are constructs of the Illuminati, or whatever you want to call them.
Gatekeepers.
The power, whatever you want to call them. But they are the instrument of gatekeeping, and the OTO and the Masons and all the people don't understand the structure. So they're going to think when you bring up these names, conspiracy theory.
Right.
But they don't understand the structure. So that's fine. Look into it for yourself. This is Chris from Don't Let Them Burn. Remember to preach the gospel. Share this information. Share the video. Like the video. And, don't let them burn.
Good feedback.